Serious question. How do you tell the difference between a soulless, robotic impersonation of Marco Rubio through artificial intelligence and the actual Marco Rubio? You don't. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this evening's episode of Mary Trump Live. It is good to be here with you. Let's get to it. Just this morning, a federal judge handed down yet another loss for the Trump regime, which is always good news for us, because once again, an attempt was, they have been trying, as you know, to end birthright citizenship in this country, which is insane. And a U.S. district judge in New Hampshire, Joseph LaPlante, said no. He issued a preliminary nationwide injunction temporarily blocking Donald's executive order that would strip birthright citizenship from children born in the United States to non-citizen parents, including his dad, although I don't think it works retroactively. Wouldn't that be nice? Now, this is where this gets interesting. Even though the Supreme Court recently limited the use of nationwide injunctions, Judge LaPlante found a workaround because, unlike the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court, he understands the law and cares about the Constitution. He certified the case as a class action suit, invoking the Supreme Court's own exception, which allows broad protection when an entire group would face, quote unquote, irreparable harm. Let's watch this report from earlier today on MSNBC.
Here in New Hampshire, a federal judge issued a nationwide block against the president's order to end birthright citizenship. So that judge granted the plaintiff's bid for class action status, but ruled that the protected class does not include the parents of the children whose citizenship would be threatened. Last month, the Supreme Court limited the power of lower courts to issue nationwide injunctions, but allowed parties to seek a block of the order through class action lawsuits.
Donald has a 7-day window of opportunity to appeal this decision, and of course he will. So this will almost certainly head once again to the Supreme Court this fall. But, and this is important for now, a federal judge has understanding what's actually going on here, unlike the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court, has stepped in to stop Donald's illegal immigration agenda from doing even more damage than it already has. So we keep hearing that the courts are among the last lines of defense. But we also keep hearing that Donald has been getting a lot of wins from the judiciary, especially at the level of the Supreme Court. So every single time a federal judge makes a ruling like this, we have to be grateful. The problem is, will other federal judges understand, as Judge LaPlante did, what is at stake? And will other federal judges understand that the best way to checkmate the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court is to use their own legal rationale and rulings against them? Before we go on, I'd like to invite you to join the Mary Trump media community by subscribing to our channel or following us wherever you listen to this podcast. Every single day, we work really hard to bring you the facts, and your support, one, it means a lot to us, and two, it really fuels our mission. Donald, as we've seen, isn't winning as much in court as he had been, and he's completely unable to gain any traction in the realm of foreign affairs either. In the war between Russia and Ukraine, Donald has finally stumbled upon a truth the rest of us have known for decades. He has zero influence with Vladimir Putin. Russia launched a devastating hours-long missile attack on Kyiv early Thursday, just hours before a scheduled meeting between the US and Russian officials. Donald has been flip-flopping about this, well, actually for months now. After years of praising Putin and criticizing Ukraine, which is not at all borne out by the facts of this case, because if you'll remember, Russia illegally invaded Ukraine, a sovereign democratic nation. Donald's tone has shifted, and basically he's begun to question Putin's loyalty to him, and mostly that's because Putin has been ignoring him. And that shouldn't surprise us because Donald has made himself irrelevant to both sides in this conflict. On Monday, Donald tried to sound tough, which is always amusing, saying he was, quote unquote, not happy with President Putin at all, unquote, and he pledged to send more weapons to Ukraine. Then on Tuesday, he said this, quote, "We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, if you want to know the truth. He's very nice to us all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless," unquote. Now, first of all, welcome to reality, little guy. But secondly, are you speaking in the royal we? Because I've told you this before, Donald. It's really unattractive, and you must stop. You're one person. You are not a multiple of people. Thank God. Anyway, things are not going any better for Secretary of State, head of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Bureau, and full-time Diet Coke button guy, Marco Rubio. He was in Malaysia meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov when the missile attacks hit Ukraine, Kyiv specifically. Here's Rubio trying to salvage Donald's completely, really, really increasingly bad image in the world and cover up for his flailing in front of the press.
Look, the president's been pretty clear. He's disappointed and frustrated that there's not been more flexibility on the Russian side to bring about an end to this conflict.
He's disappointed. Oh, no. Okay, this is so embarrassing for Donald. And I mean, I know Donald should be used to being embarrassed because that happens like hourly, if not more frequently. But by speaking this way about the commander-in-chief of the United States of America, by speaking this way about a man who holds a position that used to be considered the leader of the free world, Marco Rubio is revealing just how weak and feckless Donald really is, how clueless, how powerless, how absolutely without influence he is on the world stage. And he is realizing that the whole world knows that Donald is just an empty suit whom no one takes seriously. Russia, of course, is not the only country completely disregarding Donald and whatever useless word he has, as he continues to threaten various countries with impending tariffs, which, yes, unbelievably is still a thing that is ongoing. One country, in addition to others like China, etc., is absolutely refusing to kiss Donald's ring. Brazilian President Lula da Silva is clapping back at Donald's terrorist threats, making his own major economic threats in return. Let's take a look at CNN's coverage.
Brazil's president is standing up to President Trump over his latest tariff warning. Now, Lula da Silva is vowing to slap a reciprocal 50% tariff on American goods if the Trump administration follows through with their threat. And this all started when the US president threatened Brazil with that same tariff if it does not stop what Trump calls a witch hunt against former President Jair Bolsonaro. He is standing trial for allegedly planning a coup to stay in power after losing his re-election bid to the current President Lula. This was back in 2022.
Now, obviously, of course, Donald's allegiance is going to be to the guy who attempted a coup against his own government. But more importantly, it is deeply refreshing to see a leader of another country calling Donald out on his complete bullshit. And it's a very smart thing to do because, as we have learned and continue to learn and should have known all along, one thing is always true. This is a universal constant. Trump always chickens out, or as I like to put it, the D is silent to taco. Donald Trump always chickens out, just so we don't get confused. The backlash is not just coming from Brazil, but from coffee companies as well. Coffee trading prices climbed more than 3.5% on Thursday morning in response to these back and forth threats. Brazil is the world's top producer of Arabica coffee, and Donald's threats jolted the industry and risked a price surge for consumers. And I just really quickly want to put this in context. He's threatening massive tariffs on Brazil, which will negatively impact American consumers because Brazil has the audacity to try to hold a man accountable who attempted a coup against the Brazilian government. All right. Well, you know what? Americans love their coffee. So I'm pretty sure that this tariff war with Brazil is not going to be very popular as tensions between the two countries rise, along with the price of your coffee. It's becoming obvious that there are no trade deals to be had. Nobody, again, is ever going to take Donald at his word here. And there is literally no reason for any country on the planet who had been our trading partners to trust anything the Trump regime says in this area or in any other area, quite frankly. Why? Well, because every single time Donald doesn't get his way, or another country, understandably, and I don't like to use the word retaliates, but how about this? Protects itself by imposing its own tariffs on American goods. Donald rips up what he had promised, and he raises the tariffs again. So we are seeing across the board, at least internationally, if not yet domestically, Donald's stock failing. I mean, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy, but in the long term, in the short term even, this is actually going to end up being to our benefit, because the only way to stop this tariff insanity is for other countries to do what every single Republican politician in this country should have done years ago. Stand up to the bully and punch him in the face. It's really not that hard, guys. All right. That was that was ending on a good note, except for the potential prospect of having more expensive coffee, for which I apologize. But I think it's Thursday. Yeah. But as you all know, as you can probably tell, I am not in New York right now. I'm heading out tomorrow at an hour that is very early. So we're ending, as I mentioned last night, we're stopping a little short. So for that, I apologize, but I'll be back here tomorrow. But it's already time for our emotional support moment. It actually feels like it's Friday. So I think it's good that we're having it a little earlier. So today, I want to go, as we did last night, back to the ocean. I find, as I've probably said many, many times, and forgive me for repeating myself, but I find water, open water like oceans, very, very soothing. And so we're going back to look at one of the world's most fascinating creatures, and I actually love these octopuses. And actually, that is the proper plural. People think it's octopi, but it's actually octopuses. The more you know. I don't know how that's useful, but still. Octopuses have specialized skin cells that are called chromatophores. These expand or contract to reveal different pigments. By altering their color, octopuses can blend in with their surroundings, and they use that for camouflage, to communicate with other octopuses, like their little octopus buddies. Awesome. Or to display warning signals to predators. Some species can even change the texture of their skin to mimic rocks, coral, or sand, making them masters of disguise. in the underwater world. Now, before we get to the clip, I just want to mention, if you have not seen this documentary already, I urge you to do so. It's called The Octopus Teacher. It will make you cry. So just, warning you ahead of time. But it is one of the most spectacular, moving documentaries I've ever seen. And it's about a free diver's relationship with a little octopus he found. And it's absolutely wonderful. And this clip hopefully will help you see just how extraordinary these creatures are and how well worth your while it would be to check out The Octopus Teacher. So let's look at this short clip of the transformation of octopuses in action. Enjoy. It's just fascinating. Another thing to know about octopuses is they're solitary creatures and they're incredibly intelligent. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Let's get your questions, comments, etc. All right, Jan Z, new member, awesome. Thank you for that and welcome. It is good to have you here. Lydiapad Ribbit, thank you so much for that comment. The Supreme's permission to dismantle the government is like greenlighting an execution before the verdict is issued. Yeah, good analogy, actually. These decisions are irreversible, no matter what courts later say. Question, why are Democrats silent? I don't know. I don't know. This is... First of all, this, besides being one of the most life-threatening issues to our democracy, the destruction of the civil service, it is something many Americans don't understand. They don't understand what the dismantling of the civil service means or will mean to their lives, just as they don't understand the importance of civil servants. So the Democrats should be out there decrying this. It's actually not a decision. It's a stay, but still, I mean, it does not bode well, especially since it was an 8-1 decision, which makes my blood boil. Democrats should also be out there explaining to people why it matters. This is a messaging war more than anything else, and yet again, the Democrats are losing it. So thank you for pointing that out, because it's really important. Greg, new member. Thank you so much, Greg. It is wonderful to have you here. Mine to Cheryl, as always, thank you so much for gifting one Mary Trump Media membership. That is awesome. And there she is again. Mine to Cheryl, thank you for that. Feed the Kitty donation. Saturday is an adoption event. Oh, awesome. Very, very cool. Suki56 in the house. Thank you, Suki56. Comment, greetings, Barry. Or a question, perhaps. So, if the First Lady's visa is canceled, will Donald have to send her back to her country, or will she be sent to a camp, like the one in El Salvador? Just asking. Let me think. I think we know the answer to that. She will be sent to, I don't know, some fancy spa somewhere. Wherever she wants. Yeah, Melania, as awesome as she is, isn't going anywhere. sadly. But, doesn't that make... Here's a question for you. My grandfather was an anchor baby, but my grandmother was not she was born in Scotland. So if my grandmother wasn't a citizen of the United States of America, and I don't know if she ever became one, to be completely honest with you, is Donald an anchor baby? I don't know. But, they'll rewrite the rules to accommodate themselves because that's what they do. Regina, thank you so much as always. Comment, cosplay Christie waited 72 hours to send FEMA to flood victims. Probably didn't have an outfit ready. That is indeed the case. And we made a video about that today. So check that out. Because the handling of this, the lead up to this, the circumstances that made this horrific tragedy happen was totally avoidable. And everybody involved, from Donald to Kristi Noem to Greg Abbott to, I don't know, in my view, every single Republican in Congress has those deaths on their hands. But, Kristi Noem cares much more about what outfit she should wear for her official portrait than she does care about the death of children, because that's who she is. Kathleen, super sticker. Thank you so very much, Kathleen. Fabulous. Whoops. What just happened? Oh, there we go. Sorry. Diane, thank you so very much. That is a background puppy fee. Cool. Yes, I had a background puppy today. It was great. Rose Blue, thank you as always. Comment, he won the Nobel fucking moron prize. Yes, there should be one of those. And he should get it every year in perpetuity. Even after, yes. Mary, thank you so much, Mary. And the comment is, I have kitty cats. Yes. Nothing better. Cindy, thank you as always. Super sticker. Ethan, I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Can you spell it phonetically next time so I get it right? If I get it right once, I'll get it right forever. Ethan, I hope. Gifted 5 Mary Trump Media memberships. That is fat. See, yes, I should be pronouncing your name correctly no matter what, but come on, 5, that's awesome. Thank you very, very much for that. Sage of Suffering. Cool handle. Thank you for that very much. Comment, my therapist is seeing me pro bono now fee. That's fantastic. I swear, there should be a new cabinet position that heads an agency that provides free mental health services to all Americans, especially in the wake of COVID. Seriously. So that's awesome. Cynthia from Substack says, we are not amused, Donnie. No, we are not. Thank you for that. Great. Zella, thank you so very much. Nice comment for the octopuses. Unconditionally cool. They are. They just are. And some octopuses are tiny. Like they're like this big. So they're not just giants like squids. They're little. There are a lot of little guys around there who have a very short lifespan, which I did not know. Anyway, serious. Watch that documentary, The Octopus Teacher. Foggy Ozark G super sticker. Thank you so very much for that. Livewire Sessions Consecrated Venom. Another cool handle. Oh, wow. Gifted 5 Mary Trump Media memberships. You guys are on a roll. Thank you so much. That is very much appreciated. Susan, moderator extraordinaire, continuing the trend of gifting 5 Mary Trump Media memberships. Susan, thank you. That's fantastic. Really wonderful. Thank you. BW Mill, super sticker. Thank you so much for that. And Deb, another super sticker. Thank you, Deb. Excellent. And Motley Pizer, question. Donald is physically a coward. Can you imagine him in a boxing ring and sipping anybody? I had to be honest with you. I could not imagine that when he was in his 20s. So, no, I could not. But it's fun, too, because, well, let's just leave it at that, shall we? Okay. All right, that does it for us. Thank you so much for being here. As I said, we'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, barring some bizarre traffic incidents. But I'm leaving at the crack of dawn. Actually, I'm leaving before the crack of dawn, so I should be back in plenty of time. And thank you to everybody watching on YouTube, to everybody streaming on Twitter and on my Substack, The Good in Us, to everybody listening to the podcast. Quickly, the simplest way to support us is to subscribe to our channel. It's free. It gives you access to all of the public content on the channel, and we are on a roll. So we want to get to 500,000 subscribers. We are getting there. So another great way to help us grow and support us, also free, is to watch all of our pre-recorded videos that drop every single day, two a day. So watch those. That's where we do deeper dives on specific topics. And if you watch them, like them, share them, comment on them, it helps us out tremendously. Another great way to help us is to become a paid subscriber. And if you look on our homepage and look at subscriptions, it will tell you there are different levels of membership, and there are extras involved in every single one of them. So check that out as well. Thank you, as always, to our super stickers, our new members, people giving us gifts. You guys keep us going, and we cannot thank you enough. Of course, as always, to our amazing moderators, who just make this a community that is thriving and growing and awesome. And of course, to my team, who has been, it's bad enough that they have to deal with the insanity of the news cycle, but they've also had to deal with my traveling and my crazy schedule. And they do the most sublime job. So thanks, guys. So appreciate it. And everybody watching should appreciate it too. All right. I will see you tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern time. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind. Bye.